So I get a month.
We continue, folks. Delia asked earlier if poor diet habits lead to behavioral problems. Consultant gastroenterologist, who we say a while ago, Dr. Mike Mills, is here to talk about something like that. Morning, my friend.
Morning.
Good to see you again. I met your dad, by the way. And he was very proud to tell me that you're his son. So,
Thank you, appreciate it.
yeah, man. Before we even go to the behavior about this, you just need to eat as well as you can.
Yes, that's definitely so.
But what's good for me, good for everybody else?
No, generally there are food groups which would be common to everyone, but there are some specific things for some people who have allergies, for example, to certain foods. Peanut allergies are very common, so that's something you may want to pay attention to, especially in the pediatric age group. Peanut allergies, yes, it's something that more and more is a big problem. There are some environments where children are not allowed to take peanut-containing substances to school, for example.
Why? What's going on with the peanut? Why?
Well, we're not quite sure why the prevalence seems to be so high. I mean, it's not something that we would have heard about 20 years ago, for example.
Yeah.
But it is definitely...
You're seeing a lot of things being labeled, nuts are included or
yes,
nuts
definitely,
are, so be careful.
because there is a high prevalence of peanut allergies. It's something to look out for in the pediatric age group. There are things like celiac disease, for example, which is a nutritional condition where patients don't tolerate gluten. So a lot of wheat-containing products, which may be okay for most people, bread and wheat-containing stuff, which other people have serious medical problems with and have to avoid.
Okay.
My producer has a list of stuff. She says here's a closer look at how your diet could be affecting your mood. Food is fuel, so if you don't eat regularly, you could feel tired and cranky.
Yes, so there is a feeling that what you eat does determine how your day flows. There is some science behind it as well. Once you consume a lot of high glycemic index foods, things that contain a lot of glucose or sugar, easy sugar to digest, it causes your pancreas to release insulin. And the insulin is a hormone which is supposed to reduce your glucose level to normal. But if you consume excess amounts of sugar in a short space of time, the argument is that you release a lot of insulin, and that can cause your sugar level to theoretically go a little lower than it should, and that will make you feel sluggish, for example. So individuals frequently do complain after having a very high-calorie, easy sugar meal of having a low afterwards, so that can improve or cause your mood to be low. Because
we is a banana and dumpling and yam and stew chicken breakfast people, you know.
I've never figured out where you can have dinner for breakfast. I want you to go back to the peanut allergy, and you said especially with the younger kids. As a parent, how would I know? What would happen to the youngster if for whatever reason he have some peanut porridge or something? And
right, so once they're exposed to the peanuts,
right,
then they would have a rash, they may have wheezing, they may have difficulty breathing, it could show up in the skin. I mean, the child would be very ill, and sometimes it can be very severe, where they go into shock and have to be, emergently taken to hospital and given a steroid or something to reduce the inflammation, and then subsequent exposures will be much worse.
But is there any way I could know that it is...
If there's a family history...
No, before it happens, is there any way...
The only way you'd know if you're allergic to something is if you're exposed to it. So just like if you're allergic to penicillin, for example, you won't know until you actually get a medication that contains penicillin. It's the same kind of thing. So there's no marker that will tell you that you're going to be allergic to peanuts, for example. Yeah. Usually you just come in contact with it, and then you have a reaction.
Wow.
This says you skimp on carbs. Carbohydrates have long been demonized, but your body needs carbs to produce serotonin, a feel-good brain chemical that elevates mood, suppresses appetite, and has a calming effect.
Yes, so again, it's a theory that some people who don't have enough carbs don't have enough of this hormone that is supposed to be a feel-good hormone, and so their mood is low. But it's not hard science at the moment. It's very hard to study individuals' mood and link it only to that, because there are a lot of things that will account for your mood during the day, not just that. That is one factor. There's some people who do very well with a low-carb diet because they get their sugars from other sources. I mean, it's not exactly true that if you don't have carbs, then you're not getting any sugars, for example. There are other ways of getting your nutrients by combining different food groups.
So you're
and your
saying
body
there's no
will-
scientific evidence that would link diet to behavior?
There is no hard scientific evidence. A lot of the early trials are really observational. There is a lot of hype behind it. There is a lot of early research looking to try and link things like autism, for example, to nutrition, trying to link things like violent behavior to nutrition. But these are very, very small observational studies, and really, because there's so many other factors involved, it's very hard to pinpoint.
Boy, eating nowadays coming like you take exam.
Yeah, and depending on who you speak to, because I remember I did a cholesterol test long time ago, and the lady asked me if I eat eggs, and at the time I did, and I said yes, and she said, well, no, you need
It's
to
bad
cut,
for you.
Yeah, she said you need to cut out eggs right away because your cholesterol a little bit high. But then subsequent to that, I am now being told
It's
that
good for you.
Exam good carbs.
egg good for you.
Yes. So, again, it's emerging science. It does have a lot to do with exactly what you're trying to get out of the data that's there. People can kind of spin it different ways. As you know, as time goes on, new information comes out, and you recognize that it's not one component of the food; it's something else that maybe was put into the food.
No,
There are a lot of things.
since I went there, eggs good for you or bad for you? Since I went there.
Eggs generally are good for you. They're a good source of protein. There is truth to the fact that you can consume eggs in a certain way that will increase your cholesterol. Yes, that's true. If you fry things, then definitely that's a problem. But generally speaking, eggs are a very good source of protein, for example.
Oh.
But the next one says you fall short on omega-3 fatty acids, which is found in fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, and this improves both memory and mood.
Me that.
Yes. So again, there's
I'm
a
a
theory behind it that you need the omega fatty acids for good nerve health, and obviously that has a lot to do with your intelligence and so on. But again, it's very weak science.
Oh no!
There is
What
not
you said, intelligence?
Yes. But the evidence is not very strong.
No, the evidence is strong over here.
You just say you eat that one for salmon.
Yeah.
Let me roll out that one there. Maybe some sardine you must eat. You neglect important nutrients. Getting too little iron can spell depression, fatigue, and inattention.
Yes, iron is a big one. That's definitely hard science there.
Okay.
If your iron level is low, then that's going to contribute to a low blood count or anemia. And there are a number of causes for that. Nutrition is one. So if you're not eating iron-rich foods, for example, it's possible to have iron deficiency anemia. And because your blood count is low, obviously you need your blood to
So
supply
eat some
the brain.
calalo.
Yes, calalo.
Yeah, but an iron-rich food is red meat. But then you're told not to eat red meat.
There are other
Calalo.
sources of iron, as Delia is pointing out. If you have a balanced diet, generally you will get enough iron in your diet. It's not easy to be iron deficient just from diet alone. Usually the other cause of iron deficiency would be losing blood somewhere, for example.
Okay.
So, or children who have worms, for example. If you have
Okay.
worms, then that can cause iron deficiency.
Yeah.
So there are a number of other causes of, or heavy periods, for example, can cause
Okay.
iron deficiency, that kind of thing.
All right, Doc, you have any more?
May I read number 5?
I will read
You read it.
Well, number 5.
Every time them talk about food on this program, I mean them give them
You
them
eat
money
too
and
much fat. That bag of potato chips isn't good for your waistline or your mood. Greasy choices, particularly those high in saturated fat, are linked to both depression and dementia. Well, you are not depressed and you don't have dementia.
No, sir.
As far as I know.
Well, that one is complicated as well. So fat does have a role to play with behavior in two ways. There's a cause and effect, obviously. I mean, there is the feeling that depression, for example, can lead to overeating, and that
Right.
obviously can cause you to put on weight. And then, depending on how you feel about the weight that you put on, then it can be almost like a cycle where you continue to eat, and then that will bring your mood down because you're not happy with your weight and so on. So it does have a role to play there.
All right, my friend. Good to see you as always.
Thank you, appreciate that.
And thanks for coming. Consultant, I'm going to get it right now, gastroenterologist, Dr. Mike
Feed
Nails.
some sardine.
10 minutes to your health. We'll do it again next Thursday.